Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Sierra from Sierra T Designs, and today I have these really fun pattern paper poinsettia cards. So let's jump right in. So this is going to be a bit of an interesting process just because I had no real idea what I was doing. I'm going to use a piece of the Crafter's Companion Belle Countryside pattern paper, which is what you see here. And then I also have a piece of Bobo Bunny Early Bird 6x6 paper. That was the scripty one. That came in a 2018 kit. I will try to link something similar if I can find something, but you can't get that exact cardstock or paper anymore. So I'll see if I can find something similar. And then I'm just I have a piece of HammerMill cardstock there, and I have it cut to the full front of a card, an A2 card. And I'm kind of just trying to figure out how I'm going to put the pattern paper together. If you guys have been with me for a minute, you know that I don't generally use my pattern paper. And I have some. I don't have a lot because I don't use it, but I do have some, and I really want to use what I have. I hate to waste stuff that I have in my stash. So I kind of thought I would create a pattern paper card. So there's very little stamping in this. The only thing that's stamped is the actual sentiment. And I can't give you exact measurements on what's going on here because I honestly don't know. I kind of just eyeballed everything, and then you saw I would line up a piece in my trimmer and then I would line the other piece on top and then just cut it. Like, I didn't measure anything really, other than I did start out with my pattern paper being an A2 size so that I could cut it down from the size that I knew that my card was going to be. So other than that, I don't really have measurements for you. I kind of just guessed a little bit. And I mean, they're not at the exact same angle either, even though I did put them in there and tried to kind of get them to be aligned the same. They're not the exact same. So with that, I mean, I don't think they need to be. I mean, the same person's not getting both cards, so they would never know that they weren't the exact same. And the one script is upside down because I just used the other side of that one piece of paper. I only had that one piece of that specific pattern. So, and again, the same person's not going to get it. So I don't know if they'd even know, right? So, and then I brought in some of the Tim Holtz confetti metallic Kraftstock. I'm going to use the purple that you can see there. And I also bring in a really nice light green color in a little bit. And I also have some Lawn Fawn Pearlescent Vellum that's going to go as kind of the base to the poinsettia. I don't know if it's poinsettia or poinsettia. Either way, I mean, you guys know what I'm referring to. So, and it is the Tim Holtz seasonal sketch dies. That is what I'm using for this. And I know that that is generally a Christmas themed item. However, I don't think that anything has to be one season only. I want to use what I have, and I've been really getting into die cutting. So it took a long time for me to even get this die. I think I just got this die a couple of weeks ago, and I don't want to wait until Christmas to use it. So this is my card that has a Christmas item on it that's not Christmas themed. So I did cut the top of the poinsettia out twice in that purple metallic cardstock, and then I am going to cut it out 2 times for each card in the in the pearlescent vellum, just to give my poinsettia a little more bulk. And then because I wanted everything to be on the same layer, I brought in some Neenah 80 pound, and that's just so that I could put it on the bottom of the card, because of course there's a differential between where the pattern paper sits and the bottom of the card is. So I just brought this in to make sure that every layer was very similarly height wise, so that I didn't have anything kind of lower than anything else. Hopefully that makes sense. This only was just to finish at the bottom. You don't need to bring this in. You could have left it just with the white HammerMill cardstock, but I just wanted everything to be flush, so I did bring it in and did line that up. And then I'm going to trim off the excess. I cut it to be about 2 inches, which was what was left on the bottom there. And then I'm just trimming off any excess cardstock that I have sitting outside of the panel. So, I mean, again, it's mostly eyeballed, as you can see, because I had to trim it. So it's not exact measurements, but I think that your card will be stunning regardless of what measurements you use. So, I mean, again, it's very personal. I don't tend to measure things very often. So I just try to do my best and eyeball things. So this is the green that I brought in, and it took me a minute to decide what color I wanted the leaves to be. And I'm only using the outline part. I'm not using, the detail part that goes on top of the leaves. I didn't use the bigger part that goes underneath. I just really wanted these kind of delicate leaves that went with the poinsettia. And I did take a minute to decide, but because there is green in that countryside or Belle countryside pattern paper, I thought the green would look really pretty with the purple. So that's kind of why I ended up choosing that. And then here I have, this is just a scrap of white glitter cardstock that I have in my stash. And I'm going to use this to go over each layer where it meets so that it's not so obvious as it is currently. And I did cut 6 strips. They're all 1/4 inch. And I'm going to put 2 strips on the inside because I only need 2 strips to go over the layers on the panel. So I did actually adhere 2 strips in the card base as well, just as an extra detail. And here you can see I'm kind of lining them up, and then it kind of gives the finished feel to the card panel instead of having just these chunks of cardstock that are all just kind of laying together. And I did bring in my Nuvo Deluxe glue. I just put a thin line right on the joint of where the 2 pieces of pattern paper are meeting, and then I just laid the glitter cardstock on top of that. So for this one piece, I did end up trimming it because I didn't want there to be extra height there. Again, I'm still trying to have everything somewhat on the same plane. So I did kind of trim a point on the one end there. It's not perfect, but you're not going to be able to tell because the poinsettia is going to sit on top of it. So it's not going to matter. And then on this one, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Everything's done the same on both. It's just that they're not the exact same pieces of that pattern paper. They're both from the same piece of pattern paper. And I did selectively choose the parts that had a lot of color to them and less writing. I mean, that pattern paper is gorgeous. I love pattern paper. I generally don't know how to use it, to be honest. I struggle with that. And because I enjoy making my own background so much, I tend not to bring in pattern paper because I can make my own. But in an attempt to use what I own, I really want to try to use more pattern paper. So hopefully I will come up with some more card designs that use pattern paper. And I've really been pushing myself with the 5 cards 1 kit videos to use the pattern paper since everything coordinates so well that I've been trying to really use that. And then I brought in a sentiment. I'm using the sentiment from Simon Says Stamped Sketched Flowers stamp set. And it just says thanks. It's just a scripty thanks. And I stamped it out in Wilted Violet Distress Oxide ink because that was the closest ink I had that matched the purple poinsettia. So you could use any color. I wouldn't use black in this instance because there's no other black in my card. So I did really want to stick to colors that I already had in the card. You could have used like a green color as well. That would have looked pretty, but purple happens to be my favorite color. So that is generally where I go. And then I'm just going to layer everything up and adhere it down. I did put glue only on the center of the poinsettia. That's only because I didn't want it to be flat on the card front. I really wanted it to have some dimension. And I do make sure that all of my layers are in different places. I think that looks really pretty. I love that effect. And I think it just makes your flower look fuller. And I really like that look. And because the vellum, of course, again, would show glue, I only put it in the center and I only adhered pretty much everything just to the center on the flower so that I can kind of fluff it up and give it more dimension because it is the only dimension in the card. I didn't pop anything else up. Everything else is flat or adhered flat. So that's the only real dimension you get in this card. And the same with the leaves. I really only put glue at the very tip and then I stick it underneath my poinsettia and I kind of finagle it around until I'm happy with where it's sitting, but you can't really see where it joins because it's under the floor, like the layers of the poinsettia. So it really masks that and kind of hides the layers of where the glitter cardstock is meeting as well. And then I brought in my Score Buddy. And this is just because it is the full size of the panel and it's just easier to line it up, in my opinion. You don't need to do this. It's just I find if I'm doing a full-sized panel, I find it easier to line it up in the corner. And of course, I did them upside down because everything's sticking off of the left-hand side and I didn't want to push that into the Score Buddy and have it be smushed. So I just put them down upside down because it doesn't really matter. And then everything's kind of sitting off on the right-hand side. Just make sure that your card base is facing the right direction if you're going to do this, so that you don't put it actually upside down on your card. But yeah, and then I just kind of moved it around because it is liquid glue until I was happy with the placement. And then because it's me and I love all of this shiny things, I brought in some Arctic Breeze pearls by Studio Katia. I love how these look. I think that they're stunning, and I think that they just add a little bit of something extra. And I think that they turned out really pretty. So I would love to know what you guys think of these cards. Would you use a poinsettia for something that wasn't Christmas themed specifically, or what do you think? I would love to know what you think. So I would love if you'd consider subscribing. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday, and then whenever I can add them in there with my schedule. And I'd love it if you leave me a like, leave me a comment. I do read all of the comments in the videos. I always answer. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.